What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Point2Point NHL Recap Show, Season 3, Episode 20. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Havlack. Mark, we just had the Olympics wrap up. We're getting into an absolutely awesome point of the year here with sports like baseball, spring training. That's just started. F1 starts up in a couple weeks here. Of course, NHL playoffs, that's going to be coming up, and we're really in the home stretch here of the NHL season. How are you feeling right now, though, Mark?
Yeah, bro, can't lie. After the last couple of days and what's happened with Canada, I'm not really feeling the best here. A couple heartbreaking losses that both went to overtime. Overall, yeah, kind of excited for spring training to get going to baseball. I'm kind of feeling a little bit more baseball of the year than in the past. And yeah, like NHL, like less than 2 months from now, we're going to be starting NHL playoffs. A couple weeks from now, the trade deadline is going to be happening. The roster freeze just got lifted, I think, at midnight last night. So guys are able to be sent down on even trades and stuff. So I think we're getting into a pretty exciting time, at least in the hockey world. And I think just kind of recovering from these losses, it'll just be a lot easier to kind of get over it as we kind of get into the thick of things in the NHL season.
Yep. I already got 4 years to the day marked down on my calendar, right? 2030. So can't wait for that. Let's get into the Olympic talk. For the first time in 46 years, the USA has won gold in men's ice hockey at the Olympics. Jack Hughes was the overtime hero when he scored to secure the gold medal and the 2-1 win for USA. Mark, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, whatever the outcome is, like I definitely didn't think it disappointed at all. I thought that it was a really entertaining game from both sides. It does suck that even though we did lose, and it kind of seems like we might just be saying this because we lost. I don't like this coming down to 3-on-3. Right when OT was starting, my dad turned to me and he's like, "Are they really doing 3-on-3 for this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like they really are. Like this is the way they do it." And I don't really understand it. I think, and it's not even like we'd be sitting here saying Canada's going to win the game if it was 5-on-5. I don't know if Canada's going to win the game. You never really know. Just because that I thought they dominated most of the game at points doesn't mean that you're not going to get a lucky break here or there and lose the game. I just think it would have been a lot better that if we continued the way that game was going, if it just kept going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Overall, I thought Connor Hellebuyck played unbelievable. He made some great saves, especially like the one on Devon Taves in the third period. That definitely would have been a game changer, right? Like you never know if USA's playing down. I felt like after they scored the goal, I think was at 7-8 minutes in. That was our first shot, and their shot count was pretty low for a long time. Like I think we were doubling them at one point. And look, they did play some good defense. Like I thought Hellebuyck was really good, but at times like his rebound control was very surprising to me. Like he did get a lot of help from his defense clearing out some stuff, and they didn't really have like many second chance opportunities, I thought, at times. So you got to give credit where credit's due to the defense. Just because like the goalie makes a lot of saves doesn't mean that the defense didn't help them out at all. Yeah, I mean, it does suck. I felt like there were a couple missed calls at times, like that too many men missed call in the third was very confusing to me. But I mean, for the most part, they did let a lot of stuff go. It was just more that they called a pretty chintzy call to begin the game, which was already happening a couple times. Then they let the hooks go. And it's just like, I didn't really understand what the standard was. And the one thing I will say too is like, do you think that they wanted to have like NHL officials doing this game? Because it was just kind of like, why are we doing this with a Canadian and American ref? Like, was there no other option? Like, I understand that it might not be an NHL official if you're going down a different route, but it's just more all the talks about the bias. Yeah. And it's like, even like the funniest thing to me was like, okay, we'll go back to the semifinals with Finland. There was 2 Canadian refs, right? And there was obviously that call with the offside on the game-winning goal. That was very close, and a lot of people thought it was offside. I didn't think it was offside. I honestly thought 1/16 of his skate blade was on the line, and that makes it onside. And people are saying, well, that's Canadian bias. Guys, the linesmen made the call. They're not Canadian. The refs were Canadian, right? And that's just where I'm just like, what are we talking about here? Just because the ref had to go out and make the signal after being told by the linesman, he didn't make that call. There's no war room for the Olympics. It's literally just them talking to someone else and they make a final decision. I would have just preferred it to not be a Canadian and American ref in the finals, even if it means that we're going to be lowering the caliber of the reffing that we're getting by a little bit. I just think it would have made it for like a different story. And I'm not sitting here saying we lost this game because of officials, because we didn't. Dude, we had a 5-on-3 in the second period for 1 minute and 33 seconds, and we didn't capitalize. Now, I want to get your thoughts on the game, and I want to ask you, like, we played really well. And honestly, like, I'm proud of this team and the women's team for how hard they came out, because I would have hate to sit here and being like, shit, well, fuck, if we played that much better, like we would have won. You know what I mean? This men's loss, do you pinpoint like one specific thing to why we lost this game? Was it more that we played really good and got goalied and we gave them a chance in overtime and they capitalized on it? Or what are your thoughts overall on the game, and maybe what counted to us losing this game?
For me, I'd say the number one reason why we lost this game was a mix of Connor Hellebuck absolutely standing on his head and playing phenomenal, and then also just missed opportunities by the Canadians, right? Like you mentioned the Devontae's one. Like, yeah, that was a hell of a save by Hellebuck, but also like if you're Devontae's in that situation, like maybe looking back, he could have been a bit harder on that puck, right? Like I think in his head, he was like, oh my God, all I got to do is just touch the puck into the net, right? And then all of a sudden Hellebuck's reaching back there, and it's like if Devontae's is a bit harder on that puck and maybe places it a little bit more, that's probably a goal, right? Like you look at the Macklin Celebrini kind of half breakaway that he had, like he had a chance there to make it 2-1 in regulation, right? Towards the end of the third period, and unfortunately Hellebuck made a great save. But and like
See, I don't want to cut you off, but I actually felt like that chance out of all of them is one of the ones that I don't really think was like a huge problem, because I thought he was kind of at the end of the shift. He didn't have his legs, and I don't think he had enough room to like make a deke. So I thought that him kind of shooting and trying to generate a rebound by shooting low was actually a really smart play, and it just didn't work out. I'm more like the Devon Taves, the Nathan McKinnon wide open net, the 5-on-3 where I thought, I was like, dude, this power play this whole tournament has looked lethal. Like, what are we doing? Like, we have two more guys on the ice, and we're passing around the perimeter. Sure, there were some backdoor opportunities, but I'm like, we look better when we have a 5-on-4 compared to a 5-on-3 here. So I sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to point in and say, like, at least the Celebrini thing, I was kind of like, I didn't really expect him to score. I was almost like, dude, just get a fucking rebound. And he almost did, right? Like, he almost had that second opportunity himself, and it was just a really nice play by Hellebuck.
See, the Celebrini one, like I do feel for him there, because he was like, you could see he was absolutely gassed there, right? Like the American defender was just closing down on him, but like at the end of the day, it still was an opportunity there to really have a significant outcome on that game. And like when you add, for me, it's more like I get if you have one or two of those, but when you add up, and it's like probably 3 to 5 opportunities there where the Canadians could have scored and they didn't. It's like, it is tough, because it did feel like, and like the stats do show that for the majority of the game, the second period onwards, like the Canadians were kind of the better team, right? Like you look at the shots on goal, Canada outshot the US by over 10 shots. Slot chances, Canada had 8 more slot chances than the Americans, and then inner slot chances, they had 3 more than the Americans, right? So like Canada, it felt like to me, throughout watching this entire tournament, I think you could make a pretty strong argument that Canada honestly played their best hockey game in that gold medal game, despite the outcome. Like if you were to take away the final score and just watch that game, I think there's a solid argument to be made that the Canadian team put together their best full performance in that game, right? And unfortunately, what it really came down to was Connor Hellebuck had an amazing game, and then there was a lucky bounce in overtime, and the Americans capitalized on it, right? Like, it was unfortunate, but like I don't think you can, like, despite some of the officiating and maybe the 3-on-3 rule, like at the end of the day, the Americans won, and like, hey, maybe something there changes the outcome if it's not 3-on-3. But I'm not gonna sit here and say we lost because it was 3-on-3, right? But like for me, watching this game, it was the best 60-minute hockey game I've seen. And then as soon as it ends, like I feel like everybody around the country was all looking at each other going, oh my God, we're going to 3-on-3. Like, there's no way this game is going to end on 3-on-3. It kind of sucked because it's like 3-on-3. It's just not like it's not hockey at the end of the day. It's not hockey. Like, you even to compare to other sports, look at these Summer Olympics. Summer Olympics, you literally have two different sports, one called basketball and you have one called 3-on-3 basketball. It's literally two different sports in the Summer Olympics. In hockey, it's like, let's end the biggest game that we've had at the Olympics in the past, what, 12 years, 10 years? Let's end it with 3-on-3. I think it was a massive mistake for the Olympics to do that. But hey, at the end of the day, the Americans won. Shout outs to them. They capitalized on their chances, right? Mark, leading into the officiating, I know you mentioned it a little bit there. For me, to be honest, I thought it was very questionable in this gold medal game. Like, you mentioned the whole should we not have had North American referees reffing in this gold medal game? Without a doubt, they should not have been reffing in this game. When there was that too many men for the USA, everybody on the ice knew it was too many men. Even the American players, like, they stopped playing there for like a second. Everybody's looking at
Dude,
each other.
half of their bench looked at the referee that was down in the zone to see if
Yeah.
he was calling it.
And when you
And
look
it's
at
like, I was going to say, like, too many men is very discretionary, right? Like, you can actually have more than 5 players on the ice
yeah,
at once. It's basically if like they're actually like if Jack, I believe was it Jack Hughes that was at the bench there that played that puck. Like,
it
if
was.
Jack Hughes if that puck hits Jack Hughes's foot and he doesn't play it, that's actually not too many men.
Yeah.
It's the fact that he's playing the puck after and made a play with it that makes it too many men. Like, even back to when Canada, Czechia, when that goal was scored, everyone's like, there was 8 guys on the ice. Well, yeah, okay, 2 guys. There were 6 guys on the ice.
Yeah.
2 guys were changing. It's a bit different, right? It's the fact. Technically, you can have 10 guys on the ice on each team, as long as like
If
none of
there's
them
a
are
full
impacting
line
the
change
play.
there.
It doesn't matter, right? But it was such a late part of the game, and I understand it's not like a scoring chance, but it's also a situation that's directly impacting the play, right? Like,
Yeah.
I understand you want to let a little hold go, whatever, a couple minutes left, but it's like, I do think that's a little bit different. I did see something that I thought it was funny. It was like, hey, at least they're being consistent with the call. They're just not calling it.
See, that for me, it was like all like the four referees were just looking at. I think it came down to the whole North American thing, and that the North American refs didn't like were scared to call it because they're like, oh,
I
if we
think they
call
were
it,
all looking at another person to call it. I think
going,
that's
you call it,
exactly
you
what
call it, and then
happened.
nobody called it, and then it's like, well, it's been 10 seconds now, like you can't go back on it. You know what I mean? And for me, the that was the one thing with the officiating that I absolutely despise in this game. And the second thing with the officiating that I think, without a doubt, had the biggest outcome on this game is the guy that scored the overtime winner in Jack Hughes arguably should have been in the penalty box still in overtime there. Like, I don't know how many people here saw this, but Bo Horvat, when he got high stick, he lost a tooth. He lost a tooth, right? And Jack Hughes only got a 2-minute penalty there. Sam Bennett gets a 4-minute penalty literally 3 minutes earlier because Jack Hughes lost a tooth on a high stick. For me, when you add up like the too many men and then the high sticking being downgraded to a 2, I just like I don't really understand those two calls. And to even further my point here, I don't know if you've seen this online, but somebody tweeted out online. Apparently, Bo Horvat lost the exact same, like it was the exact same tooth Jack Hughes lost. So it's like,
Man,
what's the difference there? What's the difference?
yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, we had time to capitalize, and I hope we should have, right? Like, we had plenty of opportunities to come back, and we did not lose this game because of reffing.
No,
I'm
yeah,
not, that's not where I'm going with this. When you score one goal, like, you can't really be expected to win a lot of hockey games, and we did have opportunities. We just think it was a little bit suspect at time, and usually it is pretty suspect. But I mean, it was pretty obvious. I felt like in the gold medal game, considering to other games, you might watch the NHL and be like, oh, the Flames got hosed tonight, whatever. But I just felt like it's so important, such a crucial time in the game that I think that you got to make the calls when they happen, right? Because it was like Sam Bennett, fuck, dude, that's 100% a penalty. Like when it happened, I had no idea what happened, and I was livid. I was like, what the fuck are they calling? Like they just missed a huge call. I go back and I'm like, I like to look at things in the other perspective, right? Like if I'm the other team, like if I was an American and Sam Bennett did that and didn't get called, I'd be fucking losing my mind, right? So it's like I have to look at it like it's a penalty, right? And we killed off most of that, but yeah, it's just like Bo Horvat also loses it too. It's like neither of them are gushing blood, but it's like what's the difference here, right? Like you just gave USA an opportunity for I think it was like 3 minutes basically before it became 4-on-4 to score. It's like why aren't we getting that opportunity when the exact same thing happens, right? But does definitely suck. I felt like that OT play was very weird. Like McKinnon sort of looked like he was committing to go over to Werenski, I think it was, after Makar lost it at the following blue line. And I think McKinnon really regrets not going at Werenski there because I think that he probably could have had him.
Yep.
And it just sucks the way that it all played out, dude. Super unfortunate, but I mean, yeah, we got possibly World Cup of Hockey in a couple of years. It's starting to become a pretty good rivalry.
Mark, I want to ask you one more thing here before we move on into the team of the tournament. For Canada's perspective, like how do you think they'll kind of look back here on this loss and go forward?
I think that you kind of just got to look at it the way that USA rebounded from four nations, right? Like you gotta, once the time comes in 2 years to pick a team for the World Cup of Hockey, you just kind of, you got to look at your roster and just think like, how many of these guys are we bringing back? How much are going to have a huge impact? I wouldn't be sitting here saying like, let's blow up the team. Like, dude, we lost in the gold medal game in overtime and debated we played our best game of the tournament without one of our best players that's done it before and won. So what I'm saying is it's like, I'm not saying bring back the exact roster. I'm just saying that I'd be open to some changes, but I'm also not looking to blow up this team because I think that it's still a pretty good team. I think that we lacked some scoring depth at times, and I would probably make a couple other decisions on the back end, but I also just don't think that it's like this team's a complete failure, yada, yada, yada. Like, I'm not buying that at all, to be honest. I think there were times like, yeah, I'm just like, where the fuck is the scoring depth? But I felt like every time I said that, they ended up showing up. Like quarterfinals, boom, Suzuki Marner, semifinals, Tom Wilson, Bennett, Shea Theodore. It's like they kind of got challenged by the media and like without even actually hearing it, they stepped up, right? I just felt like at times that they maybe lacked some like creating scoring chances, and we relied upon McKinnon, Celebrini, Makar, McDavid a little bit too much. And I would like to see some more strength in depth, but I also feel like a lot of this roster has the capabilities to do that, and we're probably just off their game a little bit. And I would be open to a couple other changes. Like, say we had another tournament like in 6 months from now and we were basically picking the same team. Like, I'd go with a little bit of a different roster, but I wouldn't be sitting here saying like I'm going to replace like 8 guys. Like, I'd say probably like maybe 3 to 4. If anything, like maybe 2 defensemen, 2 forward. I honestly, like, people disagree with me online. I really don't think Jordan Binnington had a bad tournament. I will say I wasn't really happy with either goal in the gold medal game. Like the 5-hole one, it was like, I don't know what you're doing. And even the first one, I understand the D got walked, but I also I looked at that goal very similarly to the gold medal goal in the women's, where it was like they got around a defender and kind of did a nice little poke at the net. And it's like, as a goalie, it's like, dude, you gotta make that save. Like, but dude, even to begin overtime, like Jordan Binnington, who did he rob? Was it Quinn Hughes?
Quinn Hughes.
Like 30 seconds in, he made some nice saves near the end of the game. Like, sure, was Hellebuck the better goalie? Without a fucking doubt. But I honestly think if you're sitting here today and blaming Jordan Binnington for losing the Olympics, I think that you're fucking stupid. I really do.
Fun little stat for you there. Jordan Binnington, out of all the goaltenders at the Olympics, actually had the most high danger saves throughout the entirety of the Olympics. So
see, I'm not surprised with that because we talked, I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast last week, but I felt like there were times with Jordan Binnington in this tournament where I was like, was it a 10 bell save? No, but was it like
it was a timely
an 8? Was it an 8 bell save? Yeah. Probably. Like a guy's wide open in front at the hash marks. He walks in, makes a nice pad save. Like the thing is with those, it's like with goalies, it's so indifferent because it's like you let in the goal, it's almost like your fault. But you make the save, it's like a big save, right? Like it's like there's
Yep.
no kind of middle ground here. I feel like so. I I still like Jordan Binnington. Like, would I maybe gone with Logan Thompson one or two more times just because I really like him? Yeah, but I had no problem with Jordan Binnington in this tournament. I thought his worst game was the France game where he let in two bad goals, and it was like, who gives a fuck? We scored 10. If you're gonna have a stinker, do it now.
Yeah, for me, it's like I know there's a lot of people around Canada looking at the outcome of what happened here, and they're hitting the panic alarm right now. I don't think we have to do that whatsoever. It's like you mentioned earlier last year, USA losing Four Nations face off, and look at the mentality they kind of had here coming into the Olympics. Like for Team Canada, you got to be looking at it in kind of a similar way right now. Four Nations face off last year in the final game, USA, they were the better team. Who wins it? Canada wins it. In this gold medal game, who's the better team for the majority of the game? Arguably Canada, right? Who wins it? The USA. It's such a small margin between these two teams and the final outcome that if you're Canada, I think you got to be kind of happy with how you performed in the gold medal game and not over analyze it too much and go into the future and be like, oh, we got to change this. Oh,
I
we got
think
to do
that's what
this
USA
differently.
did
It's
after
like,
Four Nations, dude.
yeah,
They were like, we need to make a couple changes, but like we were one shot away. The one thing I will say when people are saying it was the best game they've ever watched,
I think is
I
a
don't know.
stretch. I
I
think
like
that's
I would honestly argue that the Four Nations game in the
was
finals was
way
better
better.
because
Way
I
better.
felt like this might sound crazy considering the States won, but I actually thought the States played way better in the Four Nations final.
Yeah.
I thought they were hanging on by the skin of their teeth yesterday, dude, at times. At times I was almost looking at it and I'm like, I feel like Czechia and Finland gave us a like it was almost very similar the way the games were. It was like we were down, we were pushing back, and I was like, the USA obviously's got the best goalie out of all of them, but I was just like, I don't know. I don't really think this was the best game. Was it it was a very entertaining game, but I was just like the best game we've ever seen. Like
I think
I don't know about that, dude. I've seen some more games that were closer than that.
I think it was a hell of a game, to be honest. For me, though, it was like the 3-on-3. As soon as it went to the 3-on-3, it was just like, man, it's gonna be so like no matter who wins here, it's just gonna be such a weird, shitty ending, like that you don't really want to see. You know what I mean? It's like when you look at the most iconic goal for us Canadians, it's Sid in 2010, right? It's like if that was a 3-on-3 goal, dude, I think we'd kind of be looking at it like maybe a touch differently. Mark, I
I wanted
wanted
to
to
ask you something.
go
I want
ahead.
to ask you something before we move on to the women's and like kind of go to the team of the tournament. Like if you had a choice, like say there was another tournament in a couple of months from now, and we're not
Yeah.
really looking too much into who could be there in 2028. Like it's obviously easy to say after the fact, but like what would you have done with the roster after seeing the way this played out? Like, is there a specific couple guys that you'd be like, you know what, like I don't really think they should have been there and I would have brought someone else? Are you kind of like happy with the team overall and like thinking that in 2 years, like, yeah, though it'll be a bit different, but I mean, um, now I wouldn't have changed anyone. Like, what are your
So
thoughts overall?
Drew Doughty, I think he looked a bit old at points in the tournament. Like we all knew that going in, he was coming more for his experience. But like if I'm gonna be honest, I think Drew Doughty. I think we probably could have brought Noah Dobson or Evan Bouchard over Drew Doughty. And I going into the future, like that's what I would do. Second decision I would make would be bring Matthew Schaefer in instead of Travis Sanheim. I felt like at this tournament, there was a lot of points where it felt like we were really lacking offense from our back end outside of Cale Makar and Shea Theodore at points, right? Like Josh Morrissey, we know he can provide that, but he was injured for a lot of the big moments here at the tournament. It's like you bring a guy like Evan Bouchard or Noah Dobson in replace of Doughty, and then maybe Matthew Schaefer there instead of Sanheim. I feel like it kind of helps out the back end a fair bit with producing offense, and also will help out guys like McDavid and McKinnon up in the front end, right? And then if I was to make any changes on forward, I don't know, man. Like it's tough, but the only two guys I would maybe argue taking off this team would be maybe three. Sam Bennett, Bo Horvat, and Brad Marchand would be the three guys I'd be most likely to take off this team. And
Okay.
who I'd replace him with, like, I don't know. And to be honest, like, would I take all three of those guys off the team? Probably not. But like Seth Jarvis going into the tournament, right? He was the last forward. I think Seth Jarvis
Dude,
honestly
he was good.
had a decent tournament, man. Like I think Bo Horvat, for me, it'd be I'd be most likely to take Bo Horvat off this team just because for me, Bo Horvat, the big reason Hockey Canada was saying why they're bringing him to this tournament is we want a face-off specialist for this tournament. And there was at least two goals in this tournament where he lost a face-off in our own end, and it directly led to a goal for the opposing team, right? And it's like, if we're bringing a guy here to be a defensive face-off specialist, and he's not amazing, like, and he's not spectacular in the face-offs, I'd make a solid argument to take that guy off the team, to be honest. So, I think for me, Bo Harvat would be my most likely to take off the team. Marco, with the Olympics wrapping up, though, Connor McDavid, Macklin Celebrini, Uri Slafkovsky, Kel McCarr, Quinn Hughes, and Connor Hellebuck, they were all named to the Media All-Star team. Connor McDavid was named MVP and Best Forward, Quinn Hughes, the Best Defenseman, and Connor Hellebuck, the Best Goalie of the tournament. Is there anything there that you would change?
Probably not. I think this is a pretty solid list overall. I was thinking maybe if you could slide an American forward in there, but I would say that McDavid, Celebrini, and even Slavkovsky for Slovakia were probably three of the best forwards in this tournament. You can obviously probably add Nate McKinnon in there too. He was really good, but Slavkovsky helped lead the way for Slovakia. I mean, Quinn Hughes was awesome for the States, and I thought McCarr took a lot of criticism. But you're going to take criticism when you're playing 25 minutes a night, right? And Connor Hellebuck for sure was probably the best goalie in this tournament. One other guy that we didn't really give a lot of flowers to that could have had a good tournament that I thought did was Saros. I thought he had a very good tournament actually for Finland, and I think he'd probably be the runner-up for this for the best goalie in the tournament. But no, I honestly don't really have any problems with this list, dude. I think it's pretty solid overall.
Yeah, I think the list is honestly as perfect as it can be. Like when I look at kind of the top players here at this tournament, you mentioned an American forward, maybe you try to get them in there. Look, the top producing American forward of the tournament was Jack Hughes. Like I did not fully realize that until I was really doing my prep here and looking into it all. Like for the Americans, it was a lot more of a everybody's chipping in here and there. Where for the Canadians, it's kind of hard to deny Macklin Celebrini and Connor McDavid and put them on that, pardon me, not put them on that All-Star team when they were by far the two best forwards at the tournament. And then Uri Slafkovsky, look, like the guy was he was an absolute menace there for Slovakia, really led them to that bronze medal game, right? So I have no issues with how the All-Star team or any of those MVP awards were given out to. The one thing though that I have seen online and people saying is that the MVP of the tournament and all these awards and the All-Star team, it was all voted on during the first intermission of the gold medal game, right? So there was still 2 periods of hockey to play there in the gold medal game. And I have seen some people online say, would you maybe swap out MVP and give that to Connor Hellebuck just based on how he did in those final 2 periods, especially of the gold medal game? Like, would you make that change at all or no?
I kind of understand the mentality, but I would say no, just because like nothing against Connor Hellebuck, but like I wouldn't argue that he's like the main reason they got there throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
And I mean, he didn't really have to be, right? Like, they didn't really have much hard competition in the preliminary rounds. And I mean, he played pretty good in the Sweden game in the quarters. He didn't really have to do a whole lot against Slovakia. So I think if we're looking at the bigger sample size, like McDavid was the best player in this tournament for sure. And he kind of looked like he was at another level for most of this tournament. I know people will say, oh, but it's the finals and that. I kind of get it, but I think that if there's an MVP of the finals, you give it to Connor Hellebuck. I think if we're looking at the grand scheme of things over what a 7-game sample size, that I think McDavid was the best player in this tournament for sure.
Yeah, I think McDavid once again showed why he is the best player in the world right now. Mark, moving on to the women's side, in similar fashion to men, the USA won gold by beating Canada 2-1 in overtime. Megan Keller was the hero for the United States. What did you think about the women's gold medal game?
Yeah, I mean, this was a lot kind of different of a situation. I felt like we kind of actually got to chat about this a little bit before the last podcast because the men's was still undetermined with the
Yeah,
semifinals first. But I can't lie, I was super surprised at how good Canada played. They came out super hard. That first period, I thought they actually had the momentum for quite some time. Their goaltender played phenomenal. And I just felt that it almost just felt, in my opinion, once they tied that game, that I wasn't very optimistic anymore. I knew going in that they would probably have to win a 2-1, 1-0 nail biter, considering that USA, I believe, only ended up letting in 2 goals in the entire tournament. So I was like, there's no way we're getting kind of 3 to 4 behind their goalie here. Another super unfortunate situation. Like, we were so close to holding on there, and Hillary Knight ties it late, and then it goes into overtime. Probably another strange defensive play, I would argue, by the Canadian defenseman to get beat 1-on-1 there, and Megan Keller pokes it home for the States. Look, the States were and are a great team. Like, I think coming into this tournament, all tournament long, they were kind of fully expected to win. Meanwhile, you probably looked at the men's side and you were like, going to this tournament, it's like, for the men, would I say Canada was probably the favorite? Sure. But it's like, if I'm going like Canada US predictions wise, it's probably like what, 60-40? Like, it's not really
yeah, it's
that.
not a
And obviously
massive
with
gap.
USA winning, it's like you can tell it's fairly close. But I think just because of the history of Canada and US and women's, and considering that was their 8th win in a row, I would argue like it was probably about like an 80-20 or a 75-25
Yeah,
that USA was winning this tournament, and Canada was really close to getting it done. And it wasn't just that. I didn't think they just like sat back all game and like defended well. Like, I thought they had a lot of great opportunities to score, and they weren't able to do it. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask you about, I really think that them going to that 3-on-3 overtime really exposed that women's hockey is not really as used to 3-on-3 overtime as men. And the reason I say that is because I felt on both teams that, look, the goal was like a 1-on-1 play where they beat the D.
yeah.
That I don't know how many minutes they played in that overtime. It might have been
It
under
was like
5.
407.
But I felt that they did not want to play the possession game at all. It was like, I got the puck, I'm going to fucking bring it to the net now and try to create a chance.
Yeah.
Was there one time where they had the puck in the zone and they went it back out to the neutral zone to regroup? Like, I didn't really see much of that. I also felt like for a whole minute in that overtime that both teams like didn't even really want the puck. Like, they were just passing to each other and it was like going to the other team. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'll be honest, I thought it was one of the worst overtimes I've ever seen, like, in my life. And I was very disappointed in it. And that's another reason why I would just prefer 5-on-5, dude,
Yep.
moving forward. And it's nothing against them. They're not used to playing this, dude. Like, how PWHL games aren't going to OT as often as NHL games. They're not playing as many games. They're not used to this at all. Like, I'm not trying to criticize the sport or anything. I just thought that it was a great game, and then it just shifted once overtime started. To
Yeah.
me, I was like, neither team wants the puck. Neither team wants to play possession. And I think that last goal, I don't know if it was Renata Fast or someone else, Canada went to change 2 of them. She had the puck, and she went over the offensive blue line, and she's like starting to cut to the net. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you're cutting against someone else who kind of has the edge on you. There was another American defender that was like kind of just like sitting there, like going to their own net to get the rebound. And I'm like, what's the play here? You're going to cut to the net and generate a rebound for who?
Yep.
I like to see a curl out play, regroup. You don't like the fucking forward and back in the NBA? I don't give a shit. It's legal. Until they make it illegal, you can do that as much as you want. I don't care. They do in the NHL all the time. You want to say, oh, it's chintzy, whatever. It's legal. Do it.
You can do it. It's part of the game. Yeah. So
I thought that it was just super unfortunate the way it ended, because it was such a great game. And I was like watching this OT and I'm like, this is awful. this is awful. Neither team knows what the hell they're doing. They don't know how to play this possession game in overtime. And it was literally just, it was a pretty nice move, I guess. Like I more or less thought, I was like, what are we doing on defense here? Like all she did was move the puck between her legs, and it felt like she almost moved out of the way. And then she goes and pokes it home, and USA's got a gold medal, dude. So that's just my thoughts on the game overall. I don't want to take away the fact that it was a great game and Canada played really well, and almost like the men, they saved their best performance for last, and they just unfortunately were a little bit short. But we were talking last pod that I was like, I'm nervous going into this game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not even close at points. That was a close game.
Yeah, it was a super close game. Like, I'll be honest, the Canadian goaltender and Renee Desbiens, she made some phenomenal saves there, especially in the second period. Looking at this game for the Canadians, once they went up there 1-0, like I did feel that there was a lot of points in the game where they were kind of maybe sitting back a bit too much and not still really pushing forward, which I didn't
I
really
don't think
like a
they
whole
did
lot.
that though until they scored. I thought they were pushing really well, and it was almost like, all right, we got this shorthanded goal. Let's sit back.
It was
I
more
will agree with you, but
it
I
was more
felt like
after they scored.
I would say the first 25 minutes of the game though, like we
Yeah.
almost like we're the better team.
It was more after they scored, but it's like after they scored, especially looking at this USA team, you got to expect that they're going to get one goal on the board, right? So I do think they did sit back a bit too much there at points, and I'm not saying like, look, that's why they lost, but I'm sitting here saying if they pushed a bit more offensively after they got that first one, maybe there's a bit of a different outcome here. And then similar to what you said, like the 3-on-3 overtime, it just completely changed the landscape of that game, and especially considering how late in the game the Americans scored for Team Canada. Like you got to sit there for a whole 20 minutes when there's a flood, just knowing, oh my God, we were that close, we were that close, and then you got to go out there play a 3-on-3 overtime while you really don't ever play 3-on-3 overtimes that much. It really does suck for them. Mark, when I look at this Canadian team, though, like I know we talked about on the men's side, look, there's not much here to reflect on. You guys were so close. For the women, they were so close as well, but I think it's kind of a different perspective that you got to look at this women's team with. This women's team, there's going to be a lot of players that played in this Olympics where they're not going to be returning, right? They're starting goaltender, pardon me, and Renee Desbiens potentially could have been her last Olympics. Marie-Philippe Poulin, who knows if she'll be back next Olympics? If she is, she'll be the same age that Sid was playing at this Olympics, right? So there's a possibility, but she potentially could be done, right? Like Laura Stacey, Renata Fast, Brianne Jenner, Erin Ambrose, Natalie Spooner, Blair Turnbull. Like that's some big players on this women's team that potentially will not be at the next Olympics. And when I look at the Canadian side, like looking at the American side throughout this tournament, there's so many college players that were absolutely tearing up the Olympics for the US side, right? Abby Murphy, Edwards, Harvey, they all looked phenomenal, and they're playing in the NCAA right now. When you look at the Canadian side, they didn't take one player that was playing outside the PWHL, not one player in the NCAA, and it's like who and where is this youth movement for Team Canada kind of gonna come over from, right? Because I do want to see that more for the women's side. I do want to see them maybe go more along the route that the Americans went and start to bring some more younger players and really see what they can provide you and get more of a youth movement within this team. How do you think the Canadian women should kind of reflect here, though?
Yeah, I mean, there'll definitely be some probably question marks and changes before the next Olympics. It depends, like with some of these women, like how long they're going to want to play. Like Poulin, I mean,
Yeah.
right? She'd be 38. I honestly think she will probably come back, but I don't anticipate like all of these women are going to come back. And I do think that kind of the veteranness of our team was exposed at times throughout the tournament due to probably our lack of speed and youth in the lineup. And I think that's probably something that they will probably be looking at. And I mean, in 4 years from now, you might not say like, oh, there's someone in the pipeline right now that is going to be available then, but you never really know what could happen in a couple of years here, right? Like kind of Sarah Fillier pops out of nowhere and she's a huge impact on the team. You never know if you have a player like that comes up, right? Just with women's hockey getting bigger, you might have someone who's 17 right now that could be making a huge impact when they're 21 years old. So at the end of the day, like the US has made some great strides, and I just will say, like, I'm not necessarily on the side of like we're done and we can't like compete with them anymore. I just think it's like they're kind of on top right now, at least on the woman's side, and we're just gonna have to get back there. But I'm not saying that we can't get there. Like I think that with some adjustments, maybe they just kind of wanted to go with this style, considering that we have won with some of these players. And I will say, like in the finals, like I felt like it showed at times that like our veteran players were good. And it felt like, all right, we've been here before, like the nerves aren't there. And I also felt like at times, like the USA, yes, where their youth was very good. But you could say whatever, at the end of the day, who helped them win? Hillary Knight, their captain, and Megan Keller, who's a veteran player. And I felt like at times they probably helped the younger players, like calm them down and stuff. And that's exactly what you need on a good team, right? So maybe Canada can maybe take a little bit of that if like Poulin is coming back and Natalie Spooner and a couple other players. And maybe we're grabbing some players that are playing college, you know what I mean, that are Canadian, and bringing them in the lineup, just seeing how big of an impact like some of these college players have, even though they haven't played professional women's games yet, right? But I don't think it's like we need a complete overhaul or anything like that, but I think that we could probably inject a little bit more youth into the lineup.
Yeah, I don't think it's a complete overhaul either, but I definitely do want to see more youth and giving some more opportunities to some of these younger players on the biggest stage.
And I hope that Bien comes back. Like she's only 31, right? Like I think so. Like you do see goalies playing a little bit older and into their 30s too, and are still pretty solid. And she's a hell of a goalie, dude. I felt so bad when she was kind of blaming herself for that loss, and I was like, man, like
she played amazing.
Like sure, that OT goal, you might have wanted it back, but like, fuck, dude. You were saying like the second period, like we scored that goal. I don't know if you remember, there was a wide open net and she made a glove save. And I just kept thinking, if that goal went in, like would the floodgates start to open? Like she played unbelievable. She's got to keep her head held high. And I hope she's on the roster in 4 years from now.
To wrap up the show, Mark, I want to wrap up the show with a game, of course. So we're going to be doing Guess the Top 5 today. I'm going to pull up my timer, Mark. I got a top 5 list in front of me, so you're going to be having to guess it. I stuck with the Olympic theme, Mark. And for today, I want you to name maybe not the top 5, but it's the bottom 5 players on the men's side for face-off win percentage. And I'll give you a hint here because like
bottom 5 on face-off win percentage in the tournament. Okay.
I'll give you.
Can I ask, are any of these players like they just took like one draw and lost, or is it like actually people that like would probably be taking a significant amount of face-offs?
So my hint for you here is all 5 of these players are centermen that actively are in the NHL.
Okay.
All right, let me know when you're ready to go, and I'll start the timer.
You're good to go, dude.
Timer's starting now.
All right, I'm going to go Horvat because I don't think he had a great tournament overall for face-off wins.
No, he was actually like 60%.
Okay. Trocheck was pretty good. I think he actually led the way. So did Larkin. I'm going to go Anton Lundell.
Anton Lundell, no.
Granlund.
No.
Swede. Zibanejad.
No.
Pedersen.
No.
Draisaitl?
No.
Stutzel?
No.
Man, you're stumping me here.
Okay, you have 45 seconds left. I'll give you hints here. 2 Swedes, a Canadian, a German, and a Czech.
Suzuki?
No, wrong Canadian.
Canadian. Oh, Reinhardt was taking draws.
He's not on the list.
Sorry, you said 2 Swedes and what else? A Czech?
A Czech, a German, and a Canadian.
Hurdle.
Hurdle, yes, he was first.
He did not have a good tournament. Swedes. Pedersen. I said him right, or did I say
You already said him,
Zibanejad?
and you said Zibanejad as well. Both or no? I'll give you one last guess here.
Sam Bennett.
Sam Bennett, yes, he was fourth on the list. So you got the Canadian, you got the Czech. Second was Nico Sturm. Third, Elias Lindholm. Fourth, Sam Bennett, who you got, and then fifth, Joel Eriksson Ek.
Wow, that's
So
surprising. He's usually really good on
yeah,
faceoffs.
that's the bottom five there in face-off win percentage.
Alrighty. Mine's not really Olympic theme, but I picked an Olympic year.
Okay.
I did 2010, and I want you to name the top 5 in points from the 2010 draft.
From the 2010 draft, top 5 in points. Okay, I'm ready whenever you are.
The one hint I will give you going into this, that 2 of the top 5 in points were also in the top 5 of the draft as well. That'll be my one hint leading into this. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll get her going.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alrighty.
Taylor Hall.
Yeah. He is number 2.
Sagan.
Sagan is number 1.
Ryan Ellis.
Ryan Ellis, no, he's not in the top 5. I don't even know if he's in this draft.
Sure
I don't see him in this draft either.
Okay, got Sagan and Hall. Man, this one's tough.
My other hint I'll give you is one of the other 3 played in the Olympics.
This year or that?
Yes, this year.
Ranlund.
He's actually 6th.
6? I didn't even know.
He's just outside the 5. He's just outside the top 5.
Trying to think if there was anybody in Canada this year. Like, I don't think so from that draft. Marchand, maybe? No, he would have been earlier.
No, but I will give you a hint. It is from Canada, the player. Another one in the top 5. But it's not Brad Marchand.
Man, I'm stumped on this one.
And then I'll give you another hint. So there's one on Canada. There's another Canadian that wasn't on Canada. And then there is another active player who is European. Okay, Russian. You don't have a lot of time. I'll give Russian. So Russian, 2 Canadians. One of the Canadians was on Canada at the Olympics this year.
The one on Canada at the Olympics this year. Mark Stone?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, okay,
I'll give you 2 more guesses. Your time's running out.
2 more guesses. European, I'm going to go with Zibanejad.
No, I also said he was Russian, not Zibanejad.
Oh, yeah, you said he was Russian. What am I doing? What am I doing here? Panarin.
Okay, one more guess.
Actually, no, Panarin was undrafted. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. My last guess for the Russian, I will go with. I don't know. I'm gonna have to give up.
Okay. Alrighty. 3 for 5, not bad. Number 1 was Sagan. Number 2 was Taylor Hall. Number 3 was Jeff Skinner. Number 4 is Mark Stone, and number 5 is Vladimir Tarasenko. Pretty good guess with the Olympians, though, considering Granlund is 6th and Brock Nelson is 7th. So
Brock Nelson's that old, eh?
Yeah, he's a lot older than people. And then we got Toffoli, Ryan Johansson, Kuznetsov, closer to the top 10 there. But pretty good. The one thing I was kind of surprised about, I guess, because he didn't really put up as many points in Toronto, like Zach Hyman is like 15th on this list. Like, I'm just surprised he's that low. Like even though Brendan Gallagher has played 200 more games than him, like Brendan Gallagher's got more points than Zach Hyman in his career. I was just like, that's kind of surprising. I know Gallagher started his career a lot earlier and Hyman went to school first as well. And I'm sure that Zach Hyman's going to slowly rise this list as his career continues.
See, I was trying to think about that, and like 2010 is hard, man, because it's a long time ago, and it's like some of these guys are old now. I was trying to figure out like ages in my head. I'm like, man, there's no way this guy's that old. Oh shit, they are that old, eh? So,
yeah, Mark Stone, 6th round, 178th overall. The guy's in the top 4 scoring in this draft. So,
and a hell of a two-way player as well. Well, Mark, that's going to wrap up the episode for today. Of course, NHL, it's going to be starting back up midweek here, so next week we'll have a lot to talk about with a full week of the NHL and hopefully a lot of trades coming our way with the roster freeze ending. So for everybody listening in right now, thanks for listening in, and stay tuned for next week.